Well, nice hat, by the way.
Thank you. It is, we're in the seersucker season, so if one does not do it now, when would one do it? First of all, let me say that your caller, Frank, is absolutely right. The USS Liberty was attacked by the United States government in cooperation to a reluctant Israeli government with the approval of President Lyndon Baines Johnson. This is a lunatic move that would cause the lives of Americans, but it is a false flag that was intended to inspire a war. So the caller is absolutely right, and the mainstream media has blocked this piece of history out. There's an excellent new book out by Philip Nelson, the man who wrote the quintessential 2-volume biography of Lyndon Johnson, very much like my own book, The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ, which in the paperback edition has 2 chapters on this woeful and disgraceful chapter in American history.
Well, and that certainly sheds more light on the reason as to why they had to remove JFK from office as well.
It does. It's interesting because CNN has egg on their face this week.
Oh, my.
Being forced to essentially retract a story that alleged improper influence peddling or maneuvering for favor between Trump associate Anthony Scaramucci and the president himself. The CNN had to completely withdraw their question. Scaramucci, who is widely admired and liked among conservatives and among the Trump movement leaders, was blocked initially by Reince Priebus, who clashed with him during the campaign. I think Priebus's problem was Anthony's direct access and the great affection that the president has for him. He is now demanded this retraction, and congratulations to him. I expect him to be now moved to a suitable government position. So that's the genesis of this embarrassment for CNN. Meanwhile, there is chaos at Fox. You were just talking a few minutes ago about that other cable news network. Owen?
Well, I want to hear your take on kind of a narrative that I'm building up during this show. I think that there's a big psyop going on right now in the mainstream media, colluding with the Democrats to, with fake news, try to oppress our victories, suppress our momentum, suppress everything that we're doing, to think that we're not winning, we're failing, when we are kicking ass right now. And I'm thinking that certain installments of the Republican Party right now, specifically Reince Priebus and Paul Ryan, are kind of falling for that narrative, falling for that fake news, and thus not getting behind President Trump. What do you think of that?
Well, it's possible, or they are aware of that Trump may be more popular at the grassroots than they concede, but that he's just bad for business long term and short. It's a lot of egos here.
So there's maybe a little greediness involved as well.
Well, but the point here is that Donald Trump never kissed the derrieres of these exalted leaders. Harumph. I mean, Washington is broken. The best thing for a majority congressional Republican would be to have a Democratic president. Now you're an actual player.
The Democrats are hopeless right now. You know, they're eating their own. CNN is failing. Nancy Pelosi is failing. We're winning. We are literally winning, and they're trying to tell us we're not. It's unbelievable. Devastating victories left and right with every hearing, and they still don't get it, folks. We'll be right back with Roger Stone. Well, there was a free speech rally today. Patriots marching against political violence. To no one's surprise, Antifa wanted no part of that. The Democrats wanted no part of that. They're actually pushing political violence right now, endorsing that. But, Roger, you actually had a bit of a cameo at that rally. Roger, I'm glad that you stand against political violence. Thank you for that.
Well, I unfortunately, based on some conversations with those in law enforcement, decided not to go because of planned violence. Yes,
So you had, are you saying you had some intel that there might have been somebody planning some violence against you?
We believe that based on some conversations I have with law enforcement, and I frankly don't want to endanger other people. But that we do have, I must tell you, an exponential spike in the number of weekly death threats I get since the success of the Netflix documentary Get Me Roger Stone. So it is a manifestation of that. There's a very ugly piece by some woman at the Huffington Post this week. I won't tell you her name or the name of the piece. You might go read it, but it's horrific and vicious in its scope. An ugly piece by a fellow named Mike Kelly at the Bergen Record. So when people start to resent our success, and in this case, I think my role in helping the president, the crazies come out.
Well, it's pretty obvious, and when you can't even go to a free speech rally because of violence threats from the left, we've reached a tipping point here, and I think something needs to be done. Who knows where this goes next? We rolled the B-roll of you being on the phone with Jack Posobiec, actually, and so you're still able to make your speech. But it's just amazing to me that we can have all of these people in Hollywood, all of this media portraying the assassination of Trump. I think the final showing of Julius Caesar is tonight. President Trump getting assassinated every night for like 2 weeks straight in that despicable performance. I mean, where does this end, Roger?
No, I mean, it is naked in their use of the media to incite, to provoke, and to promulgate violence. But Owen, I mean, you're a hard charger. You remind me very much of a young Richard Nixon when he had communist spy Alger Hiss in his sights. And I think you understand this is a two-pronged punch. First, they promulgate this line that is consistent with radical Islam. Then they censor our ability through the internet, through their entire suppression campaign to censor the internet, brand us as fake news, and use other manipulations of our algorithms, a dozen other smart computer tricks to limit our reach to the patriots out there who would rise up and support a Donald Trump.
It's so true. I mean, what you said is so true. But it goes beyond that. Not just trying to suppress the truth on the internet or suppress and censor patriots on the internet. They are literally trying to suppress reality. They are literally trying to censor reality. They're literally trying to intimidate us from bringing reality to the people. Roger, we're actually joined by Alex Jones now. We've got a Master Jedi Council on board now as Alex Jones joins us. Alex, what's on your mind this evening?
Well, I'm just here with my family, halfway taking the day off and listening to you guys. I just wanted to call in. When we won the election on November 8th, I looked at Roger and I said, the war has just begun. So I'm not somebody that's overly positive. Roger's like, hey, celebrate a little bit. And I said, no. Now they're going to hit us with everything they've got. They've been arrogant before, putting out their fake polls, believing their own propaganda. But I can tell you, Trump killing TPP, Trump killing the carbon tax, the Paris Accords, Trump cutting back the illegals coming across, 43%. That's an old number. The new numbers are even higher. Reportedly coming out next week, exposing the election fraud, making the big banks loan to small businesses and individual people, bringing $3 trillion plus back to the stock market. Now it's $400 billion in new jobs in just 5 months. 6 months. This is unprecedented. So I'm not in some love affair with Donald Trump. Quite frankly, when I used to halfway pay attention to him, I thought he was some hotel owner, and some guy that hung out with the Clintons. I didn't like it. It's what's being delivered and how the enemies are so upset and how they're panicking and how they're going crazy and how they're going insane. So, I called Roger this morning and I said, will you come on with Owen? I said, sure. He said, sure. I said, well, this is a big victory lap. I mean, they're saying in major news articles, Associated Press, Philadelphia.com, that, yeah, okay, Roger Stone wasn't a Russian agent. The Democrats want the Russian agent stuff dropped. They know it's killing them. Scaramucci, who they said was with Stone and some Russian agent, totally made up. The Pissgate deal is totally fake. The Democrats won't give the FBI any of the info because it's all fake. They're the ones. It's coming out that they were the ones. It's coming out Obama wouldn't allow the investigation because he knew Hillary and himself were up to their eyeballs in it. This is huge victory lap. And our problem is, as libertarians, as patriots, as conservatives, we don't victory lap. We're always moving on to the next thing. But we have to sit there and celebrate this. And we hear all this news that we're being defeated and we're being shut down. That's the last gasp of them trying to affect the weak-minded. We're having absolute devastating victories right now across the board, and American energy is coming way back. That devastates. And I'm not against Russia, but I'm sorry, it's business. That hurts the Russian economy, helps ours. It hurts Saudi Arabia, helps ours. Trump's doing everything for America. That's why the globalists are so absolutely, completely pissed. And so all these special interests that thought they had dominated America, mounted our head on the wall, they're just mad that we have a president that isn't out to get us. So this is a time for celebration. This is a really big deal happening. And, of course, they're doubling down and saying that, it's the end of the world for us and it's all over and blah, blah, blah. We have more listeners and more revenue than we had a month ago before the stupid Megyn Kelly all-out media assault. They hit us everything they've got. They're hated. They're despised. The American people have broken with them. They're like desperate clowns pushing all the race narratives and the rest of it. Back to you guys breaking all this down, but this is a really, really important time. The problem is they may launch some big false flags to try to blame the Patriot movement and some other things. So back to Roger Stone, Owen Sawyer, the whole InfoWars family.
And that is a typical move. If you look at history, if you're facing an absolute defeat in illegal activity that you've been doing, you try to stage some big event or start a war in order to deflect the attention away from you. But Roger, I want to hear your opinion on this that Alex just brought up, talking about the DNC not willing to cooperate with the FBI or the DHS. How is it? I mean, have you ever seen in your history of being involved in American politics, have you ever seen a situation where if you're looking at something, say, Russian hacking or Russian collusion, and you separate things onto a partisan level, and you have one side waging against the other side, pointing the finger, saying Russian hacking, Russian collusion, when there's none there? Meanwhile, it's all sitting on their side. They're the ones obstructing justice. Based on all the testimonies, everything we've heard, the DNC won't cooperate with DHS or FBI into the investigation of this, but they want to find out about this Russia thing. When is reality going to hit home? When is the DNC going to be called to task?
Well, I think it's a superb question. Also extraordinary this week, stunning, really, bombshell proof of Russian influence in the presidential campaign of John McCain. Seems that, according to Circa News, in a stunning piece, they learned from multiple credible sources that the intelligence services twice warned the presidential candidate, McCain, not to meet with a certain individual that they deemed to be a Russian asset. The gentleman was brought to the table by none other than Rick Davis, McCain's campaign manager, and former associate of my friend, Paul Manafort. So later on, a Russian asset would end up at the Republican Institute under John McCain. And ultimately, when this became public, would be discharged. And John McCain has been a harsh critic of Donald Trump, saying that there's collusion by the Russians in the Trump campaign. I think he's driven by bitterness and a demand for revenge, because I really saw the CNN story and this story on McCain to be the two big stories this week.
Well, McCain meets with Russians. McCain meets with quote-unquote moderate rebels in Syria. Who else is John McCain meeting with? What else don't we know about John McCain? Maybe it's time for McCain to take the stand.